America.
With in-depth analysis and experts' interviews, Hard Facts delivers the truth that others dare not to reveal. Tune into Hard Facts every weekday, 3 to 6 p.m. and arm yourself with the knowledge you need to navigate today's complex world. Hard Facts, where the truth always prevails.
99.3 Nigeria Info.
Let's talk. In a world filled with dreams and aspirations, there are those who dare to turn their visions into reality. They are the backbone of our economy, the small, medium, and big businesses that drive us forward. From the quaint corner stores on Broad Street to the local boutiques and small businesses in Balogun, medium-sized businesses fuel the engine of growth, providing job opportunities for countless individuals. These businesses form the lifeblood of our economy, working hand in hand to create a thriving ecosystem of commerce and prosperity. On Balogun Broad, we celebrate the resilience and ingenuity of small, medium, and big businesses. We don't just keep an eye on the stock exchange market, we're in touch with our local markets too. Join us every Wednesday, 5 to 6 p.m. on Hard Facts, 99.3 Nigeria Info. Let's talk.
Hello, good evening.
All right, it's 5 minutes gone past the 5 o'clock hour. Welcoming you officially to Balogun and Broad. This is Hard Facts, 99.3 Nigeria Info. It's time for us to talk about, of course, the appreciation of the Naira, the state of Nigeria's economy, and the semi-cashless or cash-strapped situation that Nigerians are experiencing today. My guest is joining us via Zoom. He is the director and founder, Center for Promotion of Private Enterprise, CPPE. This is an economic think tank. Dr. Muda Yusuf is a friend of the house. Always a pleasure to have him. Dr. Yusuf, good evening and thank you for joining us on Hard Facts.
Good evening. Thanks for having me.
Lovely.
My pleasure to be with you.
Great. Doctor, I'm sure that you also, like us, have been going to POS if you need to use cash these days, because over the counter, all you can get is 10,000, depending on what bank you go to. And some banks, 20,000. And the bankers committee is telling us that we should not worry, that there's cash everywhere. No, don't fret. And we hear that banks are still in the process of updating their systems. And so some of our monies are hanging in space. This has one way or the other caused some businesses, some problems, some manufacturers. I mean, everybody who does one business or the other is complaining about that. Let's start with that before we talk about the fact that the Naira appreciated over the weekend.
Yeah, thank you. Well, I think, first of all, let me say that currently the total currency in circulation in Nigeria outside the banking system is about 4.3 trillion naira.
Wow.
Cash.
Wow.
So when you look at the trend, really, it's not as if there's been any major shortfall in terms of the amount of cash that is available to the economy. So ordinarily, there shouldn't have been any major disruption or problem as far as the issue of cash availability is concerned.
Mm-hmm.
But it is possible that part of the thing you mentioned about issue of confidence,
Mm-hmm.
because in the last 1 month or so, we have seen some issues with online transactions, failures and all of that. And these online transactions thrive on confidence. There are some people, as we speak now, because of the experience they had in the last 1 to 2 months, they don't want to, get engaged in online transactions anymore.
Absolutely.
Some of them had moved to other payment platforms. Some of them don't even want to touch it. Particularly people who are not that literate, are people who are also just struggling to be part of it. In the informal sector, in the rural areas, and so on. So my thinking is that the collapse of confidence along the line may have contributed to the issue of higher demand for cash as against the use of electronic, payments. That, for me, I think is a possible factor. The other possibility is that, generally, we have very huge informal economy, We also have a very big rural economy. In many of these locations, there's always a preference for cash. But we have been living with this for some time, and we haven't had this problem. So my thinking is that it is this disruption in what has been happening to the online payments, the collapse of IT systems that has broken the confidence in some areas, which is why we have this. Secondly, we have a major competition now for cash between the banks and the POS operators. The POS operators now, there are over 3 million of them in the country. And they are buying the cash. Yes, it's a thriving business. They buy the cash. As against the bank doesn't pay anything for the cash. In fact, before now, the banks penalize you if you keep an amount of cash above a particular threshold. But these guys are buying the cash. So they go from retail outlets to retail outlets, collecting the cash and using it to do their business. So that is another major factor in these dynamics that I see.
Doctor, talking about, if, again, the issue of confidence, I'm thinking, why do we have to, because you put your monies in the bank and you get these deductions at the end of the month, and then you still have to buy your money back from POS operators because you don't take those monies for free. You pay 300 Naira for every 10,000 that you get from a POS. Then again, the bank is still taking out monies for transactions that you make through the POS because every time you use your card, deductions are being made. And then at the end of the month, card maintenance is at all of those deductions. Why do we have to use the Naira to buy the Naira in this country? I don't know, is it lawful? Or because it's normal now, we can just waive it? I don't know.
No, well, first of all, although it depends on what class of income you are. For 10,000 Naira, I think they charge 100 Naira. Or is it 200?
No, it's 300 now. 300 now.
It's 300 now?
Yes, okay, for every 10,000.
It used to be 200. Now, the issue is that people also are paying for convenience. These guys are all over the place. You don't have to be traveling long distances. You don't have to take Okada to a bank. You go and queue and all of that. So they are providing a service, and which gives a lot of people convenience. So it is the convenience that people are paying for. But they save you the trouble.
I'm sorry, doctor, but the banks don't give you more than 10,000 Naira over the counter. If you have 500K that you want to redraw, they tell you can only get 50,000. And so you have to. So I don't think it's convenience; it's availability. Because if I need 500,000 Naira cash, and I can't get it from the bank, of course, the POS guy is readily available to give it to me. So I don't really agree if it's convenience. I don't think so.
No, the point of convenience that I'm talking about, I'm not even talking about these high-end people that are going for 500,000 Naira cash and all of that. I'm talking about the ordinary Nigerians. They need 5,000, they need 10,000, they need 20,000. They have the option of going to the bank. If they need 10,000, of course, they could as well go to the bank. Some of them do go. But I can tell you, when you go to the bank, even to collect the 10,000, sometimes you have to spend about 30 minutes, sometimes 1 hour. You have to wait. These things have cost. When you compare that to the POS, who is just almost in front of your house, and you have to pay 200, or you do some rational decisions. Yeah. If it pays you, you go. I'm just trying to explain why they also have a market, why they have patronage. But what is more important is to look at the fundamental issues responsible for this shortage of cash and address it. And I've mentioned the issue of confidence around, some of the banks when their systems fail and all of that is what has led to the growth of the fintechs.
Yes.
You can see they have grown phenomenally. It's because of these frequent failures with the traditional banks. So there's a movement to some of these fintechs. So we need to fix that. So we need to fix confidence and try to enlighten people as much. But as for the volume of cash we have, I think nothing really has changed. 4 trillion Naira cash in the economy is not too small, really. So that is my view.
Let's talk about, what speculators are saying. From over the weekend, Nigerians were excited because the Naira was appreciating while the dollar was having a free fall of sorts. After a few days of rally, we're hearing that the Naira crashed further at the parallel market yesterday as activities of speculators weakened the currency further to 1,630 Naira to a dollar. Last week, the Naira witnessed 4 consecutive days of exchange rate appreciation since the Central Bank of Nigeria migrated the enhanced foreign exchange market systems platform. However, sir, since the market opened this week, the gains have been eroded, with Naira fast depreciating at the parallel market, despite showing steady gain at the Nigeria Autonomous Foreign Exchange Market. For some of us, we were really excited over the weekend that, and those who have dollars were very angry because their dollar was reducing. But how do we maintain that growth of sorts? Because in the past year, the Naira just keeps going up and down like a yo-yo. What are we not doing right? Because many thought that, floating the Naira was going to be a solution to Nigeria's problems, but that didn't really pan out well. Where we are today in terms of our currency, also saddled with the fact that we're not necessarily an exporting country in that regard, what else can be done to stabilize the Naira?
Well, let me say that over the last few months, maybe from June to date, we have seen some level of stability in the foreign exchange market. And we must give kudos to the CBN, for whatever they have done to ensure that stability. Because before then, we have seen some very terrible volatilities in the foreign exchange market, which was creating a whole lot of problems for businesses, uncertainty, unpredictability, and all of that. But over the last 6 months, we have seen some level of stability. We have also seen some steady periodic intervention by the central bank. Each time the CBN intervenes, we see some moderation in rate. So we must acknowledge that. Now, just few days ago or so, or last week, there was a lot of excitement that Naira has now appreciated and all of that, just as you said. Then suddenly, within a day or two, the story changed. Now, what I think is happening first is that, the CBN has been trying to, come up with models that will minimize all these manipulators or minimize the level of manipulation or speculation in the foreign exchange market. Because it's a very, very complex market, particularly this alternative window, this parallel market window. It is not properly regulated, and there are all manner of characters there playing around with the currency. So the CBN has been trying to come up with strategies to deal with these functional variables. And that is why you see all manner of circulars almost every other week. You see one circular on Forex, because these guys are very smart. As you are blocking one hole, they are coming out through another channel. So it's a major issue, and that has been creating problems for the foreign exchange market and creating problems for the CBN. Because it is not all the demand that we see that are actually genuinely.
Oh, Dr. Yusuf, are you there? We've lost that connection with Dr. Yusuf. I'm guessing that his connection has... Sorry, Doctor, we lost your connection.
It is not everything that is for manufacturers or at work, and some of them have...
Sorry about that. We lost your connection.
I was saying that a lot of speculators, can you hear me now?
Yes, I can. Loud and clear.
No, I was saying that there are a lot of speculators at work, and it takes the cooperation of everybody, especially those within the banking system, because it has been alleged that some of them are also, conspirators in this forex manipulation thing, because they are making a whole lot of money from there. So that factor is there, and that is what is causing this volatility. But fundamentally, the way to strengthen the currency is what we have said. We need to increase our exports, because the exchange rate is a function of your supply and your demand. So we need to increase your supply, and the way to increase supply is to increase the inflow of foreign exchange into the economy through exports. through the increase of our oil output, for instance, the government have been doing a lot around these oil thefts, running after people, arresting people, burning down refinery. I mean, these illegal refineries. They have been doing a whole lot. We must acknowledge that. And the whole idea is to ensure that we increase our oil output at least to about 2 million barrels per day or even more. If we do that, and at a price of, over $70 per barrel, that could have a very big impact. And we have also seen some efforts around, the IMTOs. IMTOs are the International Money Transfer Organization.
Yes.
We have seen some significant improvements in the inflows because all the barriers that used to be there under the former regime or the central bank, those barriers have been removed. You don't have anybody now imposing rates on you that, okay, if you are bringing your currency, it has to be at this rate. No. The market is free, so you bring in your foreign. That is why we are seeing a lot of remittances from abroad through IMTOs and so on. So a lot of positive things are happening. Then we have seen recently we have the Eurobond of $2 billion. By the time that is finalized and comes into the economy, of course, some people have complained about the cost of that. That is a different story or different conversation.
Yes, of course.
But it will have some impact.
Okay.
And we have seen our reserve. Our reserve now is crossing over $40 billion. So these are variables that will impact on the outlook for the Naira in the near term and in the medium term. But we need to deal with this problem of speculators. We need to deal with the problem of money laundering using the dollar. These are dysfunctionalities within the system.
You just mentioned, you dabbled into my next question, because I was going to talk about the fact that not the average Nigerian like me, I don't know about you, doctor, you might be a billionaire. But it's not the average. I wish I was. It's not the average Nigerian that goes around with dollars, because we hear that certain politicians go around spending dollars in a Naira economy, also playing a role in what you're talking about. There are those we hear in this. I'm guessing that the CBN is also trying to put an end to all of that. There was a time in this country where people paid fees in foreign exchange, and we still see these monies changing hands. As you also said, there are people who are complicit within the banking system. Half the time, it's not the average Nigerian that's causing all of these problems in the economy. It's mostly the guys at the helm of affairs. If we must sanitize the system, can Cardoso win this battle?
No, with the cooperation of all Nigerians, he can, particularly those in the financial services sector. Because you and I are not in that sector, we don't even understand the tricks. There are all manner of things that people do. There are all manner of ways they manipulate documents and so on. Many of us don't quite understand it. But we can feel it in the market. We can feel it in the way the currency fluctuates. When there is nothing changing in our economic fundamentals, suddenly you see that the currency is fluctuating. So there are elements that are doing this. So with the cooperation of everybody, particularly those in the financial services sector, we should be able to, fix this. In many other economies, you don't play around with other currencies like that. You don't. There are very strict regulations. All transaction, even if you come in as a foreigner.
Yeah.
If you want to exchange, even to buy $100 or $200, they will collect your passport, they will collect your details.
Oh, yes.
Before they give it to you.
Yes.
You can't go to any shop and say you want to spend $. They won't take it from you.
Absolutely.
So they are very strict. But here we have been a bit loose, and because those who are also involved are also the high and mighty. So it has been difficult to rein in all of these things properly. But we need to fix it. And it takes the political will and the cooperation of the key stakeholders in that ecosystem to be able to fix this problem.
Let's talk about the generality of the economy now as we see it. We've been getting assurances that in no time the economy will be stabilized, that the government is doing everything in their power to ensure that the economy is stabilized. And for someone who is in the business of always keeping an eye on the economy. What do you think needs to be, or what areas do you think the government should be focusing on that they're not focusing on to, one way or the other, rejig the economy? I mean, when the presidency first came, they put together an economic team with the Dangotes and the Elumelus and the Ovias of this world. And one thought that they would breathe magic. But of course, that didn't necessarily do a thing. And we still have the National Economic Council, which one would also think that they would come up with something. But it looks like we've not necessarily... I don't know if to use the word take off is good. I'll use it loosely. It doesn't seem like we've really taken off in terms of the economy, or maybe I'm wrong.
Well, the issue is that, although this is also debatable because some people may not, the issue is that there are some fundamentals that needed to be fixed. Some people may not agree, but that is the way I say it. Mm-hmm. And in the process of fixing these fundamentals, you will have the kind of challenges that you are having. Because I remember before the advent of this administration, our international trade system was almost completely collapsing. Because as an importer or a manufacturer, when you request for maybe $100,000, the bank will just give you $10,000. It was as bad as that. It was taking some people 6 months, 1 year to be able to rake in enough FX to be able to do international transactions. And I know that there were some correspondent banks that completely shut out Nigeria completely. Because our letters of credit, which was an instrument for purposes of international, was no longer credible. It was no longer being honored. So it was as bad as that. And the system was almost collapsed. So what has been done partly to address these fundamental issues? And of course, it took some time for us to even get to this point where we are beginning to see some stability in the system. So that is what I think had contributed to the current challenges. Because when you have these fundamental dysfunctionalities, you need time to be able to fix them. But the pain of fixing them has been what many of us have been complaining about, including the citizens. Because if you are going for a surgery, yes, you admit that you have to bear some pain in the surgery. But again, the medical person will still do something urgently to mitigate the pain.
There is an epidural, at least.
I don't feel the pain.
There's an epidural to reduce the pain.
So
yes.
These are some of the things, these are some of the gaps that I will say. I don't know whether you are still with me.
Yes. Dr. Yusuf, we have to go on a quick break. When we come back from that break, I know Lagosians have questions for you, but when we come back, looking at, the cushioning effects for whatever the government is doing now for the future, what would be your recommendations? If you were to be put on that economic council, what would be your recommendations? We'll be right back after this break. Stay with us.
Success is like a big mansion. You only see the magnificent edifice, not the strong foundation that holds it. Likewise, in the world of e-payments, you only see transactions done and funds remitted. But who pioneered these financial technology solutions? Well, you knew it as Value Card, now Unified Payments, Nigeria's premier financial technology service provider. Yes, it starts here. Find out more at www.up-ng.com. Unified Payments. Innovations that work for you.
Africa's home of creators, Cloud Africa, presents to you from the streets of Nigeria to the whole wide world. It's the Cloud Talk Concert, Trench Talk Festival. Featuring the incredible DJ YK Mule. His music to the world by storm. It's Cash Coming. Also featuring Ladies Man Shode. And the king of the streets, Badman Nico. Cloud Talk Concert, Trench Talk Festival is taking place on the 17th of December 2024 at the Balmoral Convention Center, VI. Time 5 p.m. Get your free tickets now at cloudstalkconcerts.com. This event is proudly brought to you by Action Bitters. Cloud Talk Concert. Talk just get lit.
Drink responsibly. Not suitable for persons under the age of 18.
Good morning, my people. Now your pilot today, Eluna. Today we get special passengers for inside plane. 3 Betano members they go England to go watch Aston Villa match live. Big congratulations to Emeka, Yemi, and Ibrahim.
Play with Betano and you will get a chance to enter UK for free to go watch the match between Aston Villa and Tottenham. Betano, now proud partner of Aston Villa. Play responsibly. Now only for people who don't pass 18 years. This promo go they run from November 1st, 2024 to February 28th, 2025.
Join us for Unusual Praise 2024. Get ready to lift your voice, dance, and worship with all your heart. And best of all, it's free. This year, we're bringing together talented ministers like BJ Sachs, Mr. M, and Revelation, Alasheyori, Chioma Jesus, Jude Nam, Joe Praise, Dare Justified, Sinach, Dunsin, and many more. Mark your calendars. Friday, December 13, 2024 at Tafawa Balewa Square, Onikon, Lagos. Gates open at 5 p.m. Brought to you by the Catholic Church of Divine Mercy, Lekki. Unusual Praise 2024. Let the people praise you, O Lord. Amen.
Any platform can help you save. But when it comes to investing, you need a partner that you can trust and is committed to helping you achieve your goals. A partner with a global footprint, diversified investment options, and great returns that help you grow. You need RiseVest. RiseVest is your partner for dollar investments like U.S. stocks, U.S. real estate, fixed income, and Naira Savings Vault. Invest with RiseVest to earn interest between 8 to 15% in dollars and up to 25% in Naira. Download the RiseVest app or visit www.risevest.com to start investing. Rise. Investments that help you grow.
For vegetables, you go be controller. Whether you dey for banana or zanga. For sports book, I'm just a joke. Make you dey build your bet, just a cook. I see no fit on you to controller.
Be a part of the action. Your first bet is on us. So register now and get 100 Naira in free bets to start playing. Bet King. Every bet is an adventure. Terms and conditions apply.
That feeling, that's Bet King.
Welcome back to your number one talk, news, and sports station. This is Nigeria Info.
Nigeria Info. This is Hard Facts.
In case you're just joining us, the program is still Hard Facts. Balogun and Broad, we're talking about the business environment. We're talking about the economy. And my guest is Dr. Muda Yusuf. And we have been examining the situation of things, especially the state of the Naira, the economy in general, and, of course, government intervention. Dr. Yusuf has been explaining to us, of course, why you have to go to your POS to get money as opposed to going to the bank to withdraw your monies. Nigerians obviously have been complaining and questioning the situation of things, but my guest is helping us to get some clarity. Now, Dr. Yusuf, before we went on that break, I said I was going to ask you what you think needs to be done to better our lot in terms of the state of the economy. But before that, there are some interventions that government has been putting in place. The whole 25,000 Naira cash transfer scheme, knowing the state of the economy and how meager, how do I say it? So the cost of living has risen so high that bread, the average loaf of bread now is 2,000 Naira. The cheapest maybe 500 for a very tiny loaf. And if 25,000 Naira were given to a person, who will he feed? And who would be left? This conditional cash transfer scheme that the government is undertaking, and several other things that they're using as interventions, how viable are they? How reliable is it? What will it really change in the scheme of things economically, for not just the economy of the nation, but the economy of the Nigerian at home? Looking at the average income earner who's earning 75,000 naira as minimum wage, a bag of rice costs about 120,000 naira as we speak. What are we going to boil the rice and eat it like that? I mean, there are too many things to be, said. You have to pay NEPA bill. PHCN is putting almost all of us on band A. We still don't see the light. National grid has collapsed. You're going to have to pay your NEPA bills. You're going to have to buy fuel, 1,080 naira per litre, depending on where you buy it. I mean, the cost of living is rising high and our purchasing power is reducing. What gives?
Well, I'm not a fan of this conditional cash transfers personally.
Okay.
Because when we look at the size of our country, when we look at the population, and we look at how many people are actually benefiting from these cash transfers, quite frankly, it's not material at all. That is one. Secondly, we have a data problem, a data integrity problem, because this thing is about the quality of your data. I mean, generally, we have a data problem in the country. So how do you determine exactly who and who is given, where they are? These things are very, very difficult to validate. Thirdly, once it comes to this kind of interventions, the corruption risk is also very high. Because you have to put some people in charge, they have to compile the list. There are high chances that the politicians will get involved and say, well, people in my constituency need to benefit, all sorts of things. These things are amenable or are vulnerable to all this kind of interference. So that is why I'm not such a big fan of these handouts, really. But I must admit, it's also part of it. Some people are getting it. What I think should have been done as something much more systemic, something that will address, for instance, you talked about the cost of food. It costs you so much to buy the food. And I've had people complain, okay, if it's costing so much to buy the food, why is it costing so much to cook the food? People talk about cooking gas.
Cooking gas is so expensive right now.
Yes. These are things that we need to pay attention to. These are things that are burdening the ordinary Nigerians. There can be some very impactful intervention at that level, for instance. When you call all the suppliers, all the producers, what can I do for you? I want this cooking gas to drop by, say, 30% or so. It should not be too difficult for government to do. If we need to give up some of the taxes they are paying, some of the levies they are paying, regulatory fees, clear off some of these barriers for them. It will make these things available cheaper. The same thing with even some of the things that we import. Because across all sectors, there are one form of import or the other. You need to see the cost of clearing cargo at the port. It's very prohibitive. And at the end of the day, it is these ordinary Nigerians that we pay for those things. I think that this is something that we need to look into. Because before now, you were using maybe 750 or 400 and something as exchange rate for clearing of cargo. And you are using the exchange rate that is prevailing in the market to clear the cargo. So the cost of imports has risen by as much as 100% in many cases.
Wow.
In addition to the high import duty that people are paying. This is feeding into the high cost of goods and services which the ordinary people are paying for. If we're able to intervene at such levels, we will have an impact that will be more systemic, that will reduce the cost of production, which will eventually reduce the cost of some of these prices. Then issues of implementation of intervention. Look at what the government announced about removing import duty on food items, on pharmaceutical products, and all of that. It took almost 3 months before we began to see any implementation. So the delivery mechanism, the implementation apparatus, of even the few things that the government is doing, we need to do something about it. I'm sure this matter has been escalated and the government is looking at it, but we need to do a lot more.
Okay.
So it's a question of looking at those things, even energy. For the cost of fuel, there should be something like a circuit breaker. That once it gets to this threshold, government will step in to be able to provide some subsidy, because all over the world, subsidy is not a bad thing. If it gets into a threshold that is too high for people to bear, government can take up that responsibility. It is done even in advanced economies.
Yes.
Also heavily subsidized public transportation. Look at the public transportation space. There is no serious government presence in those space. Everything is private sector. And you know the private sector is profit. It is government intervention that can bring some social dimension into public transportation.
Okay. All right.
But for in many areas, you don't have it. So these are the things I think we could do, at least to bring some succor
to the people,
to the citizens,
yes,
in a systemic manner.
Very true. Well, I want to say, Dr. Muda Yusuf is the director, founder, Center for Promotion of Private Enterprise, CPPE, which is an economic think tank, and he's been here in the studio, literally just giving us some wisdom nuggets. Well, let's open up the phone lines, Lagos. I know I recently spoke to someone who said that now they cut ice fish to sell in the market, even fresh fish. They cut yam to sell in the market because it's what you can afford that you would be able to buy. But let's talk Lagos. 0201-277-0993, 0201-465-7190. How's the economy treating you? And again, we are in the Yuletide season. Is there going to be some respite for us as we try to celebrate the Yuletide? 0201-465-7190. That's the number for you to call if you're a female. You can join the conversation. We're live on Facebook and on YouTube, Nigeria Info FM. If you're listening to us from outside of the country, you can join us via Skype. We are Nigeria Info FM via Skype. You could be part of the conversation on WhatsApp. It's 08095975805, 08095975805. We would love to hear from you. Someone here, Chinedu from Ayobo, says, Maryann, don't be fooled by the pseudo appreciation of the Naira against the dollar. I expected it to appreciate the moment Dangote started refining in Nigeria, but it didn't. I think the appreciation we see now is because of the influx of Nigerians in diaspora because of the Christmas and New Year festivities. I will only celebrate if the appreciation is sustained until March next year. Even drops to below 1,000 Naira. We still have, oh my goodness, we have lost. Okay, Dr. Yusuf is back with us. Let's take a few calls. Join the conversation. We'd like to hear from you. Hello, welcome to Hard Facts.
Hello, good afternoon. This is Joy.
Hi, Joy.
Okay, so what I want to say is this. I just wanted to differ when you said the financial institutions should be also be blamed for some of the reasons why these issues we are having with dollar and all that. But I know CBN are the regulators of. They are the bankers' bank, so they should have seen all these things that the banks, the financial institutions are doing and nipped it in the bud. But none of all these things are happening. So I have not seen any director or whatever that has been sanctioned or things that have been done. So to me, I don't really think it is the financial institution, because if you're not actually getting any culprit, that means you all are also accomplices to all the things that are happening. So to me, mentioning those people, I don't think they are the ones. The CBN should, some of the things they are doing is just on the temporal. They just do something temporarily, and Nigerians don't really understand what they do. We see things go up, and later it just gets haywire. And again, the marketers are still importing. So why are they still importing? When we see how the so-called Dangote refinery are available for us to actually get crude from, oil from. So why are they still importing heavily? If you check the amount, the dollars they have pumped into importing these few months, it is alarming. So these are some of the things that actually making our dollars not to actually, the Naira to appreciate. It appreciates today, tomorrow it goes down. And it's static for some time at 1.6. It is, to me, I don't know what it is, 1.6 is still high. Before they came in, it was lower than that. So I don't know. They are actually, what the policies they are making, I don't know if to me, it's not really working. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Joy. Dr. Yusuf, would you care to respond?
Well, I I agree with what she has said, because all hands have to be on deck. I will need to see some consequences for misbehavior. And I must say that listening to the central bank governor at the CIBN dinner, he did announce that for infractions, I didn't know what kind of infractions, that banks were fined a total amount of 15 billion naira, I think during the year or something. That shows that there are some consequences for some of these things. But I don't know the nature of those infractions. But I agree, there has to be serious consequences for some of these infractions, in the financial system. And she also made a very important point about import substitution. Whatever we can produce here, we should have a policy not to allow those things to be imported. Because that is the way to reduce the pressure on the Naira, on the FX. If Dangote says it can provide, unless somebody can disprove that, why must we allow anybody to go and be importing petroleum products and be putting pressure on our foreign exchange? Because one of our expectations was that the moment we're able to improve on our domestic refining, we should see a dramatic reduction in our import bill. Because we spend about 30% of our forex importing petroleum products. Whether you are talking of PMS or you are talking of Jet A1, you are talking of diesel, you are talking of, kerosene and all of that. So why should we continue to allow that? So we need that policy action. And it's not only about petroleum products. Why must we be importing furniture, for instance? Why? With all the furniture companies we have in the country, why must anybody be taking foreign exchange to go and be importing furniture? And so many other things like that. Even some of our softwares. We have our young engineers, IT guys, very young people, very bright people, who can develop softwares for either our banks or companies. These are things we can do to conserve foreign exchange. So I don't just leave the economy open, leave the forex market open. You want to buy anything, you just go there and buy. So I think these are some of the things. So I agree with the point that she made about looking more in the area of import substitution. Whatever we can produce, please, let's have a way to discourage the importation of such things.
I just want to add to that, because I remember just before, leading up to the Ondo state elections, a few people who were representing the governor were on my show, talking about cocoa this, cocoa that. And I feel that we've paid so much attention to the oil and gas sector that we've totally abandoned the area of agriculture, just as you've mentioned, things that we can actually produce in this country. Why do we have to import them? For example, I spoke to someone who is in the business of using, cocoa to produce chocolates in Nigeria, and he complained about the bureaucracy and the shortcomings that, they have to experience. And sometimes it appears that it's easy to import what they need to produce what they have to produce in the country. So how do we address that? Because in one breath we're saying we want to strengthen the Naira, but the processes within the country also so much stagnate businesses that they're frustrated to going outside instead to bring these things in, import them and produce, which also puts a heavy price tag on those things that supposedly are manufactured in the country. So what do we do to address that?
So that is why we talk about creating an enabling environment. Because we need to increase productivity. We need to increase production. We need to create an environment where even the cost of those who are producing locally can also be competitive. You cannot be producing and you are borrowing money at 35%. How can you compete with somebody who is importing it? Not to talk of all manner of levies, taxes, regulatory issues, documentation, all manner of issues that are placed on your doorstep by different layers of government and agencies of government. So while we say that, okay, we should look inwards, but we should also create the environment for those who are operating inwards. Because I must tell you, it can be very, very frustrating for those who are in production here. Talk to those who are don't you see how much losses manufacturers were posting, while the banks were posting trillions in profit, manufacturers were posting heavy losses.
Wow.
The same thing, talk to those who are in agriculture. It's a nightmare. Insecurity had driven many people who invested hundreds of millions in the agricultural sector. They have abandoned it and ran away because of kidnappers. So this is a different conversation. We need to create the environment for people who are even trying to do something to be able to do it and do it competitively. So that when you compare people to go look inwards, they will not feel that you are putting too much burden on them by asking them to look inwards. So that would be my response to that.
Okay, well, Lagos, I can take maybe two more calls. 0201-277-0993, 0201-277-0993. You can also call 0201-465-7190. That's 0201-465-7190. If you are a lady, you can send me a WhatsApp message on 080-959-75805 on WhatsApp. We still have Dr. Muda Yusuf here with us on Balogun Blood, and we're talking about the state of the economy. For those of you who import, those of you who do businesses, how easy has it been for you when it comes to importation? Hello. Welcome to Hard Facts.
Hello, good evening. Thank you.
Good evening.
Mr. Yakachukwu, I've been listening to your doctor's analysis.
Yeah.
So, good evening, Nigeria. Well, the most unfortunate thing we have here is my opinion, we have 98% of leaders who do not understand leadership. They just want to come and rule. So it creates more problem when they come to the office. Now, the doctor, for instance, if anybody want to, any patients come to a hospital, the first thing that doctors do, they try to diagnose what is wrong, right? They run a test. What is wrong? Then after they got the diagnosis and get what is actually wrong, they know the appropriate prescription to give, right? For it to work. But unfortunately, you have a government that comes, they want to start giving prescription without even trying to know what is wrong. And if we give, for instance, paracetamol, would there be a reaction that will counter the kind of solution we try to bring? I was thinking that maybe when this new government came, they will take some time to study the environment, also study what is left in the government, what can be done, not to break down the economy. Is it right time to float? Do you have the structure to float? You don't have the structure. You don't have the structure to do anything. So you have to control first until you are able to put appreciable level of structure so that when you are putting your policies in place, even though it takes time, 6 months, 1 year, people begin to see gain. Now you have done a policy for more than 1 year. People are dying because of the policy. That means it's not well thought out. So businesses are crumbling. I know when Buhari came in, MFLA tried to do similar thing. The car company I was working that was hired about 200 engineers, the company went aground.
Wow. Before
they started controlling the Naira again. You don't have common, a riffraff on the road is the one selling and determining how much they sell dollar. So how can you have to put out all those? Make it a criminal offense for anybody to, on a person that is not registered. If you are dealing on dollar and you are not registered with CBN, it's a criminal offense. If the bank is doing anything, we want to see it, it's a criminal offense. Doctor made mention that the CBN governor said there was a fine about 15 billion Naira for infraction and the rest. Do you know what that infraction must make to the bank?
Okay.
If I get 30 billion Naira, right, and you fine me 15 billion, does it mean anything to me? It doesn't.
Okay.
So there should be death penalty for this. If you do this, I'm telling you, people are committing suicide every day because of all this.
We have to go. We have to go. I want to say thank you so much for your contribution. I do appreciate it. Doctor, we have 30 seconds before we go. In closing, sir.
Yes, well, there are quite a number of perspectives on this matter. He has made a very valid point. All over the world, the currency environment is a highly regulated environment. So we need to ensure that our system here is highly regulated so that in order to reduce all these dysfunctionalities in the system, because it's creating a whole lot of problem, both for the regulators and for the citizens. The system is too loose. We need to tighten it up. We need to regulate it better. Thank you.
Well, I want to say thank you. Dr. Muda Shiru Yusuf has been here with us speaking about the economy. Doctor, we appreciate you for coming on the show.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
All right. Lagos, we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we'll be wrapping things up on Balogun and Broad. Stay with us.
Get breaking news. 99.3 Nigeria Info. We are more than just radio. Subscribe to our YouTube channel at Nigeria Info FM. Check us out on Facebook at Nigeria Info 99.3. Follow us on Twitter at Nigeria Info FM and on Instagram at Nigeria Info FM Lagos for live updates as it happens. 99.3 Nigeria Info. Let's talk.